What's up, Wellspring? Welcome to the Wellspring Podcast. Obviously, I'm not April, but I am Ryan, and we're here today for this week's podcast. So,
Yes.
Pastor Joey, how you doing?
So good, bro. Man, honored that you're here, and obviously bummed that April had surgery last week, so that's the reason why she's not here. She's still not feeling. She's good, everybody. She's fine, but she couldn't do it, and so you are second in charge. So we figured we would let you be on the podcast.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here. As you guys know, those of you who were in church yesterday, we started a new series called Slay the Monster.
Yeah.
Really cool title. I'm a creative guy, so I love the creative side of things. But talk to us about where the idea came from.
I think for most of us, we would say that money is a hard thing to get a hold of. And I think there's a lot, especially for church people, there's a lot of ideas that go into this thought of money. Like, we have all these opinions. The church wants my money. I don't have any of my money. And then I think and I talked about this yesterday, there's a lot of generational curses that need to be broken off of money, off of the idea of money. Also, this really big idea of poverty mindset. My parents were poor, so I'm going to be poor. My parents didn't have, so I want to, or the opposite. My parents had all this. And I think it's a monster. Yeah. It's a dragon.
You called it stinking thinking.
Yeah. It's hard to navigate this. Yeah. And so what we wanted to do, and I always say this anytime I do a series, I always go from this premise. If people are talking about it at their dinner table, then I think we should talk about it in church. Yeah, cool. Let's not let just news channels and social media talk about it. I mean, Jesus was so good at that, right? I mean, he talked more about money than he did faith and prayer. Yeah. I don't think they were more important, but Jesus was driving home the point that money is one of the last things that gets saved.
Well, you needed to talk about it more too.
Yeah. I think people, if you're in a relationship with Jesus, you get the idea prayer is important, faith is important, but this idea of money. And we try to do a really good job creating content around our series that helps people feel comfortable, that the guard is lowered or the wall is dropped. And because I realize it's not. Many people listening and watching, you've got a lot of opinions and histories of what money is and what this church said and what that church said. And I mean, TV preachers and prosperity gospel. I talked about that yesterday. This isn't 90s prosperity gospel, but however, God does want his people to be prosperous. He doesn't, Ryan, he doesn't want you to be poor. Right. He wants you to have wealth. Right. He wants his desire is for you to have it.
It's a different way of thinking too, because I was even raised, it's not that I was raised to be poor. It's just that we believed that was just part of it. Yeah. Like it wasn't, we were being taught that we were going to suffer. And, we didn't even consider, we've talked about a few times since Lenisa and I have been here at Wellspring, you've taught these and it's helped us so much to change the way we think. Yeah. And that's not something that I had growing up, but it goes beyond that. It's not something my parents had growing up. And so it's something that it's so important for us to be able to get that from this lens of the church and to learn that and to put that into play into our own lives. And it's changed us. So
I'm going to share something I'd love for you from your upbringing as well. So I grew up in a home where my parents didn't have a whole lot. We had all of our bills paid, but when it came to I went to Christian school, but my family couldn't afford the Christian school. Yeah. My parents had to go to my grandmother and my grandfather to pay for the Christian school. We got into a lot of credit card debt, our family did. And so I made an interval. By the way, I just think intervals are not biblical, but we do them all the time. And I made this interval, and the interval was, I will not have credit card debt as an adult. And although that's on the surface, that sounds like a really good idea. Don't have credit card debt. Should have credit card debt. But it drove all of my thought process. And that's why point number one yesterday was you got to have a healthy mind. Yeah. And my thought was, if I don't have debt, my life will be happy. Yeah. And it's not the truth. Although you shouldn't be in debt, it really drove this massive wedge into our marriage. April and I struggled for the first few years of our marriage because she's more of a spender, and she's not, we joke all the time, she's not a frivolous spender. She's just more giving. She's more free. She's more like, I want to help you. And Dakota told me the other day that even the staff's like, I like when I go out with April because she pays for us. They don't say that about me, but they say it about April. April's more giving, and it was a struggle for me because I felt like if I didn't save, if I didn't come up with a system, then I'd be broke, or I'd be in debt like my parents. So,
my family we struggled, but I actually don't have any like recollection of my family talking about finances.
Never.
Other than there's two thoughts. One was my mom would say, we only got this much money this week for groceries. So we got $50 for 7 days. We're going to make it last. So we ate pinto beans and cornbread every night for a week. That happened a lot. But I do remember my dad trying one time. This is back before computers and cell phones and softwares. He got a poster board and a ruler, and he drew out all the days of the month and put all the bills. And that was my first exposure. I was probably a teenager. Yeah. First exposure to even what a budget was.
Yeah, right.
And it lasted 1 month. Yeah. Like they literally didn't finish the month, and it was just, they struggled. They didn't always bring us in on the struggle. We had what we needed, but there was just no information.
Yeah.
And then in my early, teen or 20s, like I had no idea what to do with money.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know how to save. I didn't tithe. Like
it wasn't taught to you.
Part of your story is you started tithing early on. Like I don't think I even knew what tithing was.
Yeah. Right.
Until I was out of my house, and it was something. And you talked about your mindset, like a healthy mindset. And you said something. I've recently gone through this journey of beginning to get healthy with my body.
Yeah.
And I feel like most things in our lives start with the mind.
Of course.
They start with how we think. And if we can't get a healthy mindset about it, then it's almost setting us up
and
for
I would
failure.
go so far to say even finances and fitness go so hand in hand.
Yeah.
Like it's a mindset. If you think you're always going to be big, if you think you're always going to have this issue, then you're probably always going to have that issue. And if you think you're going to be in debt and you think you're going to be poor, you're probably going to be poor. And so I think that's why I wanted to start yesterday by helping us understand that we have to get a healthy mind. Good. And I just believe that there was this poverty mindset on our family. You never had enough. And so we've tried to do some things. We're not perfect, but we've tried to do some things. And next week, and just a little plug for next week, I'm going to give you some examples on how to get yourself right. We're going to make this series real practical, real grabbable, so that you can be better this year than you were the previous year. So I think you got to have a healthy mind and
healthy head.
Yeah, healthy head. Healthy head. And then I think your hands. And that's, I didn't lean into that a lot yesterday.
Talk about it.
Because next week is really what I want to do. I want to talk about what it looks like to save. How do we, and Dave Ramsey's like the king of this, right? Dave Ramsey gives us these healthy principles. And I'll be honest with you, I love Dave Ramsey. I think Dave Ramsey's great. But a lot of what Dave Ramsey asks us to do seems so far. It's like for us going and talking to a mega church on how their practices and systems are like, I don't know if we'll ever be there. Right. So there's some things that Dave Ramsey asks us to do that are great. And so I just want to kind of make it biteable for us next week. So we'll talk about healthy hands more in next week's podcast.
So there was three others: heart, healthy hand, healthy head, healthy hands, healthy heart, healthy. The fourth one.
You don't remember?
The fifth one I remember easily.
What's the fifth one?
Healthy homies.
Healthy homies. Because you got to make them all H's. Like, how do you do friends? Or you can't do that. You can't have 4 H's and then not have an H.
So talk about this.
Yeah, I think what happens a lot of times is, so for instance, you talked about tithing. And again, the message wasn't about tithing, but I think tithing is such an interesting thing because I think the more I'm around other people that tithe, it was easier for me to tithe. And just fitness. You're on this fitness journey, and not to share too much of your story, but you're not going to the gym alone.
Right.
Can you imagine if you got up every morning, like you wouldn't go?
It wouldn't happen.
Yeah. You may go some of the time. You may throw a few bucks in the offering.
It actually took someone inviting me day after day, week after week, even though like this was something that was important to me.
Yeah.
He invited me over and over. And now, knowing that he's there and knowing he's doing it with me helps me go on days like this last Tuesday when I was I woke up and I wasn't feeling it.
Yeah.
But I knew he was going to be there. And I knew also he was going to be like, hey, where were you if you didn't show up?
And it's interesting, and we'll leave him nameless just because we didn't get permission to bring up his name. But even just the other day, we were in a meeting together with him. And what did he say to you? He said, I didn't want to go.
It was actually the same day. We both didn't want to go,
That's
but
hilarious.
we both went because the other one was going to be there.
So what's hilarious is the one that's mentoring you didn't want to go, but the fact that so there may be somebody on this podcast that's listening going, well, I already do all this. I already have healthy finances. Well, maybe the healthy homie is less you getting help from somebody else, but maybe you encouraging other people. And so we were super practical. And I do think healthy head and healthy heart are important. I think a lot of people believe that money's bad.
Yeah.
You know, like money's bad or money's awful, or this idea that money's the goal.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of people that are listening and go, well, if I just have a lot of money, I'll be fine. And I gave this example that money's not bad and money's not the goal, but money is a tool.
Yeah.
It's a tool. And so I gave the analogy of a hammer.
Right.
And this idea that the hammer I can use a hammer to build a beautiful craftsman home.
Yeah.
Or I can use this hammer to punch holes in the wall. Right. And so it's just a tool. It's amoral. It's not right or wrong. It's what you do with it that really, really matters. And so I think our mindset, our thought process, the head is really, really, really important. And then so you asked the other one. This was that I want to have healthy habits.
Yeah.
Healthy habits. And again, that's real practical. We'll talk more about that next week. But it's, anything done 21 days becomes a habit. And that's why what I love, speaking to your point, what I love is when we start out every year with our 21 days of prayer and fasting. And it's helpful to know that all the rest of the staff is doing it, the hundreds of people in our church that are doing it. It makes it easier to go, okay, I have a habit, they have a habit, so we can go to dinner. I'm not splurging because they're not splurging. Right. We're together having the right habit with the right homies.
Yeah, so, community, community is so important.
Yeah.
You're saying that we do the 21 days together, there's going back to this health journey I've been on. I felt there was another guy that we wanted to bring along on the journey with us. And, part of his life and part of his struggle is his health, but there's another area in his life that is being impacted by community, by doing things together, by knowing that we're in it together. Yeah. And so it's, having healthy homies and habits. Yeah. Like there's some things I'm doing right now in my life where I'm creating these habits. And, Lenice is sitting in the room here today, and she looked at Mavian this morning. She was like, I'm proud of you for your determination, and it's these habits that I'm creating now are going to determine,
the stories you tell later,
the stories, the health that I live with. And I'm not just talking about physically, I'm talking about in all areas of my life. And it really goes back to these 5 things that you told us, this healthy head, this healthy heart, and it all wraps up with the community, the healthy homies. We say homies is a funny word, way of saying it, but who are you living in community with? Who are you, not just side by side, but who's mentoring you? Who are you mentoring? Who are you helping along the way? Who are you picking up, in their moments where they need someone to come along and say, hey, I see this in you. Yeah. It's time to step out. It's time to make a commitment in this area of your life. I've seen you struggle with a poverty mindset. Yeah. I've seen you live through this. I've seen you struggle. Here's what the gospel, here's what the truth of the word says. Yeah. And I'm going to help you walk through this. And
I think you bring up a good point at the end there, because I do know that there are probably a ton of people listening, and this is what they're thinking this whole time. But I'm already at this such and such age, and I've already screwed up.
Yeah.
I've already got into debt, or I've already maxed out credit cards, or I've already not been tithing, or my kids are already out of the house and I didn't train them up right. And I would just say, and I know this is easy to say, and I don't mean to oversimplify it, but I would just say, make today be your day one.
Yeah.
Just start today.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what they do in recovery. I mean, if you're an alcoholic or a drug addict, or if you've been addicted to porn, what do they say? This is day one.
Yeah.
And listen, I've had many things in my life where I've had day ones.
Yeah.
In several topics, a ton of day ones in them. And I would just say start today.
Yeah.
And well, I can't tithe. I can't give 10%. Okay, pick a percentage and start there.
Yeah.
Well, I can't pay all of my debt. Well, I love what Dave Ramsey says. He says, do the snowball effects. Just pay off the one with the highest interest rate. Well, I don't know if I can fix my entire family. Well, okay, we'll just start in your home. Like instead of trying to, we say all the time that real people, real hope, real world. Or we say this, that we want everybody to be inspired, be connected, be devoted, and be a world changer. And I'll always add to this idea of being a world changer, that if you'll change your world, and all of us changed our world, we'll change the world around us.
Absolutely.
And so just focusing on what you can control, the piece that's in your hands, and let everything else. And I think for me, that's salve for many wounds that I've had, because I feel like I can easily be real high and real low. I've got this like low grade depression every day, and I can slide down really, really quickly. And if I think, well, I can't fix everything, I can't go back and teach my son things. He's 21. Well, I'm so horrible. I'm such a terrible dad. No, start today. Yeah. Start today and watch what God could do.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so cheesy to say this, but I'm going to say it anyways. Like, how do you eat an elephant? Yeah. You do it one bite at a time. Yeah. And so many times we can get overwhelmed by the idea that it's too late.
Yeah.
Like it's too late to get started. Yeah. And it's so good to realize that like today can be day one.
Yep.
Today can be the beginning. And to realize like we're all on a journey.
And we all want to help each other.
Yes.
Everybody's got a story. Yep. Everybody's got a story. Yep. And if somebody's got a story around you that's not your story of whatever, somebody else has that story. Yeah. And if that person doesn't have your story, they want to help you with yours. So, and that's why we're creating, I think in the next couple of weeks, we're doing a finance 101. And we're going to help people walk through the X's and O's and the nuts and the bolts of how to walk through this, because on a Sunday morning, we can't answer everything. Right. But we want to be a tool. We want to be a resource for everybody, so that you can live in freedom, financial freedom. That's why we do freedom, so you can be spiritually free. But we also want you to be financial free. And I'm just crazy enough to believe that if every single person listening today could be financially free, the kingdom of God would go to a different level. We would reach people that we've never reached before. Yeah. We would have more money. I've often said one of my goals, I stole this from Rick Warren, but one of my goals, and I don't know if I'll ever get there, but one of my goals is to be a reverse tither. Yeah. Rick Warren wrote in his book years ago that, that purpose-driven church book that I think was still a #1 selling book besides the Bible. And because it made so much money, he decided I'm gonna live off 10% and give off 90%. And dude, he finished well. Yeah. He finished his church at Saddleback well. He's got a great family. Yeah. I just want to do that. Yeah. I want to be able to go, I don't need this. Yeah. And I think Rich, I said this Sunday that here's how you know you're rich. You have a choice, or you have a choice to do it, like I can do, or you have options. Yeah. And I think rich, we're the top 2% richest people in the entire world. Yeah. And I think just helping us realize we're blessed, and God can do so much if we'll get this area right. The story about being a reverse tither. I went to Lee University, and our president, his name is Paul Kahn, incredible guy. That's how he lived. He didn't take income from the church or from the school and do those things, but he turned and returned that to us, the students. And it was inspiring to see a man that could live that way. Obviously, he'd been successful in his life, but it was his heart. Yeah. His heart. But you have to start somewhere. Yeah. So maybe you're listening and going, I can't ever do that. Okay, well, start with 10%.
Absolutely.
And then start with 11, go to 11 and go to 12. And listen, help people, help other ministries. Just be a person that's generous.
Yeah. There's somebody listening. Yeah. Somebody was at church this last week. Somebody will be here this week. But that is part of your story. That's part of the calling in your life, is to be a financial giver. Yeah. It's the gift that God's given you. And so that person has a different journey than maybe my journey, but God's called you to it. And so it's time for you to step out into that as well.
So I would say be with us next week for week 2. Don't be scared.
If you missed yesterday, it's on YouTube. We encourage you to watch it.
Don't let the conversation of money in the church freak you out. I promise you.
I was thinking about this while you're talking. We talk about this stuff because we care about you.
Yeah.
We care about your family. you know, a lot of times church and money gets a bad connotation or reputation. Like, that's not what this is about. Like Pastor Joey and April, like we get to sit on the inside of these conversations and they love you. Yeah. They care about your life and your family. Yeah. And that's why we talk about what we talk about. It's so that your life can be better and that you can be a better steward of what God's given.
And it's not just tithing. It's not just giving to the church. Right. It's creating margin. I mean, margin is the most beautiful word. What if I can make a choice? I don't have to do this. I don't have to. And so we'll talk about that this weekend. I think we'll be real practical. I think it'll minister to some people.
It's a great series. So we're glad you guys tuned in with us today. Thanks for watching or listening, wherever you're watching and listening. Pastor Joey mentioned just a minute ago that we are doing a Finance 101, what we call Grow class here at Wellspring. If this has intrigued you at all, we encourage you, don't just come to church on Sundays, but go a little further. Sign up and attend these Grow classes. It's going to give you practical tools in your life to be able to take what we talk about on Sundays to the next level. Yeah. So as always, we have 3 services every Sunday, 8:15, 9:45, 11:15. We invite you to join us. If you're listening from somewhere else, we stream our 2nd and 3rd service online. We would love for you to join us online. But again, thanks for listening. We love you guys, and we will see you soon.
Love you, church.